The cabin stood isolated, its wooden frame blending with the dense, ominous forest surrounding it. By day, it appeared almost quaint, a relic of simpler times. But as night fell, the cabin took on a more sinister aspect. Shadows stretched longer, and the trees, devoid of leaves, seemed to whisper secrets they had no right knowing. Emily, a city dweller desperate for a retreat, had rented the cabin for a month-long escape. Her days were filled with writing and wandering through the serene landscape, but the nights were haunted by an unshakable sense of unease. It began the first night, a distant, unintelligible whisper riding the breeze that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She dismissed it as her imagination, a trick of the wind. But the whispers persisted, growing louder each night until they formed a cacophony of hushed voices that seemed to encircle the cabin. On the fourth night, Emily awoke to find herself standing at the window, her breath visible in the freezing air. The glowing crescent moon bathed the clearing in silvery light, revealing a figure at the edge of the trees. Its eyes glowed with an unearthly light, piercing through the darkness and locking onto her. A sudden chill swept through the room, and Emily found herself paralyzed with fear. She couldn't look away. As the figure slowly stepped into the clearing, the whispers grew louder, more urgent. She could now discern fragments of words among the jumbled voices. "Help us, trapped. He knows." She stumbled backward, breaking the figure's gaze. Desperate to understand what was happening, she remembered the journal she had found hidden beneath a loose floorboard earlier that week. The leather-bound book was filled with cryptic entries and sketches depicting the same glowing-eyed figure. Drawn into the chilling tale, Emily read how the previous resident, a recluse named Thomas, had been haunted by the same whispers and mysterious figure. The entries became increasingly erratic, describing a pact made with an entity in the forest to attain forbidden knowledge. In exchange, Thomas was cursed, bound to the forest and the cabin, forced to lure others to share his fate. The realization struck Emily with the force of a thunderclap. She had to leave, but the forest seemed almost alive, conspiring to keep her there. Gathering her courage, she decided to confront the figure. Armed with the journal, she stepped into the moonlit clearing, the cold biting at her skin. The whispers swirled around her, now frenzied and desperate. "I know who you are," she called out, her voice trembling. "And I know what you've done." The figure halted, its glowing eyes narrowing. The whispers ceased, replaced by an oppressive silence. Holding out the journal, Emily demanded, "Release them. End this." For a moment, the air seemed to vibrate with tension. Then, with a shudder, the figure began to dissolve into the night, its eyes dimming until they were no more. The air warmed, and the weight of dread lifted from the clearing. The forest exhaled, its whispers turning to sighs of relief. Emily returned to the cabin, the journal clutched tightly in her hands. She stayed awake until dawn, the first rays of sunlight a welcome relief. She gathered her belongings, leaving the cabin and its haunted past behind. The forest, once menacing, now seemed at peace. As she drove away, Emily glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the glowing eyes.